Congratulations, you're making it in. Listen, there are only two more pieces left, the knight and the queen. Let's start out with the knight. Let's put some knights on the board. Knights line up right there in between the bishops and the rooks, which you know how to move. This knight is a tricky kind of guy. He's sort of a stealth warrior, right? He's always sort of represented by this horse. And that sort of gives us some insight into the way that he moves. He's sort of shaped like an upside down L, isn't he? Right? Well, he moves in an L shape. He actually moves two spaces and one space over. Two spaces in one direction and then one space over, like an L. So if you can draw an L with three squares and then one at the tail, you've got the L. But he really disappears from the square that he's on, bam, and he shows up at the end of that L. Isn't that amazing? Well, the reason that that's so amazing is because it gives him an ability that no other piece has. He has the ability of jumping over his own pieces or his opponent's pieces. So this guy can get in the game right away. So if it's white's turn to move, this knight can jump out right there at the beginning of the game because he's moved two spaces up and one space over to create an L. Black has the same ability. This guy can move two spaces out and one over. And of course, since we're not talking about those pawns, these guys can always move back too, right? So you can move out this way. You can see the L here, right? And this guy can move out here. He can move into an L, and this guy can move out into an L. And so we can see that this guy, he's got some options, doesn't he? He can move in an L and land here. Or he can move from this square, move back over here, because there's an L. Or he can move over to here. Or he can move over to here. Or over to here. Or over to here. Lots of spaces for a piece. Now you might say, can he move here or here? Well, that would be an L. He cannot land on his own piece. Okay? But any open square or an opponent's piece, he can jump on them. So this guy, he can move from here, make that L and jump to here. And look here. This guy can move in an L and land right on top of him. Okay? So that's the way that the knight moves. This guy could then move over here, and he can move over here to take a piece. Now, this knight guy, oh my God, he loves this position. He loves to move from here over to the C2 square. I mean, he loves it. Let me show you why. So it's white's turn to move, right? So let's say he moves here. And it's black's turn to move. And he takes this piece over here, if it'll let me. Come on. Oh, I'm sorry. We can't do that because the king is in check. Ah, did you see that? If the king is being threatened, he's got to either take this piece, he's got to move, or he's got to block the check. So what do you want to do? You want to run or you want to take? Yeah, I think you should take. So let's say he takes that piece, right? Now it's white's turn to move, and white's saying, hey, I want to get into this thing, right? So he moves a piece someplace, right? We don't care about that so much. What we want to do is we want to get this knight onto the square that he loves, right? Loves being in this position because now on the C2 square, that knight is threatening to take the king. And the king's got to do something. He can't just stay there. He's got to either take this piece, but hey, he's got nothing to take him with because these pieces, he's close to these pawns, but they can't take sideways, right? And he's right here on this bishop's face, but that bishop can't take he can't take straight ahead. And even that rook is out of reach of this knight. That knight is a bad fella. So the only thing the king can do is move out of check. Well, in this position, the knight has a great opportunity because now he's done what we call a fork. So not only was he threatening to take the king, he was also threatening to take the rook. at the same time. And since white can't take both pieces, he chooses to move there. This rook just picks up him a free piece. And that's the power of the knight. He is a very sneaky fella.